is another one that faculty, students, deans forget. Generally speaking, you have some place that you intend to share your study. We have some forums in the college that are logical connecting places. Even if you don't have any other plans for it, we have a research forum series in the college, a kind of lunchtime forum series that the research committee is in charge of, that we have forums as often, sometimes as twice a month. This year we have gotten off to a slow start, but if you want to present and it gives you a kind of friendly environment for presenting, that's a great first place to present at a research forum. We also have a graduate student conference, and some years we don't, our graduate students don't get that together, but I understand that this year they are. And we have that Graduate Education Association has kind of gotten momentum again, and so they're going to do a conference. That's another great place. We do have funding up to $500 if you give us your whole paper for travel to state, regional, national, international conferences. And we've had students go all over the country and to other countries as well. And that could, if you have in mind a conference particularly related to your area of study, an instructional technology conference, or if you're in a field like educational leadership, maybe a leadership conference, then you could say that you intend to present it at a conference. Some people don't like to go to conferences and want to jump right to writing a paper. That's fine too. Just list some journals that you think might be interested in the study that you write.
Yeah, I asked my advisor for her input there. I said, what would be good places? She's very familiar with my research, and so she gave me some suggestions.
The video will be posted, by the way, and the slides will be posted.
Funders want to know, they want to know where it's going to be.
Right.
Even in the committee, yeah, because if they're going to give you the money for it, they want to make sure that, that it's benefiting somebody. Somebody's going to get the information that you're trying to obtain, and it can be implemented into practice. I mean, that's my goal, is I like to see theory and practice kind of come together.
And I think, right now we've talked about dissemination basically to a scientific audience. But I think that for a lot of your applied projects, dissemination to your target audience is incredibly important, back to the school districts, for example. And so I think that that is also an important part of your dissemination plan as well.
Very good. The other piece is that if you're doing grants for places other than the College of Education, if you're a researcher and you're continually wanting to get grant funding, your record of how well you do your grant is used in assessing grant number 2, right? So very often, the first grant you write, you have to kind of go on whatever you've got. But once you get that grant, then people are going to look at how well you disseminated the results of your first grant. So it's kind of a good habit to always say, if you are doing research, you need to get it out there. And figuring out the good audiences, both the practical audiences and the scholarly audiences.
It's funny how grants work like that, because you build up a reputation. And I'll tell you, we recently, last year, or 2 years ago, we applied for a military grant to run adventure camps. It was the first time we applied for the grant. And so we were fortunate enough to get it. The second time, we were fully funded, one of only 5 proposals fully funded. And so I think it had a lot to do with the fact that we were very successful that first year. And so we're applying again, and we've already built up this reputation that, hey, these people do a really good job what we do. We can trust them, that they're going to use the money wisely. And so that really makes a huge difference.
And I think in dissemination, when you've taken years to slog through your research, honestly, dissemination is a ton of fun. You have your results that you know better than anybody else, who are now the world's expert in this one little area. And now you can go out, you have the opportunity to network and to share your ideas and to implement these ideas for better practice. And at least for me, that's one of the best things about being an academic. Going to Hawaii in the middle of the winter, demonstrating my research to a bunch of people who have to listen to me because they walked into the room.
Mhm.
Yay, that's
Sign
great.
me up.
That's what I was doing yesterday at Disneyland.
See?
Really?
And it
My
really,
conference was in Columbus, how fun is that?
yeah.
I should say thank you. I'll be going to ASHA in November, thanks to the funds available from the College of Education.
Oh,
See
cool.
that? And that's
Yeah.
great.
So I'll be going to ASHA to talk about working memory in a completely unrelated field, but still very important. It's American Speech Hearing Language Association. So
Right on.
they're probably more interested in what I research right now than education.
It's exciting. Hear more about your research.
Well, I'm excited to be going, so.
Yeah.
And I think this is where I'll just talk very quickly about the Graduate Student Senate Awards and also the Student Enhancement. And we also have something called the CRISPA Discretionary. If you are fortunate enough to get one of these grants, we really do think that an important part of it is dissemination. And as Amy said, there's $500, but a lot of times that doesn't cover your travel. So you can put in for the lottery for GSS as soon as you know you're going to go to the conference. Even before you know that you are going to be accepted, you can apply. Okay, we just hold the money until you get the letter of acceptance. I would encourage you for that. Also, if you have a unique experience or an emergency and you need up to $500, you can come to what's called the CRISPA Discretionary Fund. You have to go to Amy. Amy has to come to me and say, yes, this opportunity for this student either to do their research or to present their research is a unique opportunity or an emergency, and then we will actually co-fund you. So basically, our programs build upon success. You designate that you want to go after this opportunity, and then we try and give you the follow-on funding to make it a complete project. There's also the Student Enhancement Award. Let's say that you get this, great amount of money. Well, if you want $6,000 more money, you can translate this proposal into a Student Enhancement Award. They're due the end of January. It's perfectly fine that you have multiple sources of funding, as long as we don't fund the same thing twice. Okay? So you could use this as preliminary, or we could also just fund a larger project.
And when we get to the budget, you're going to see that you have a column for other sources of funding. And that's going to be important because if you're planning to do research, we had a doctoral student researcher a couple of years ago who had a very complicated research study in an African country, and so she had a lot of expenses, and she went everywhere. She got external funding, she got funding from the university, she got funding from the college, and her budget, she actually maybe had to add another column for the different sources of the funding, but the idea was that she had mapped out, it's just like the dissemination plan or the timeline, it's a plan. A budget is a plan for what something's going to cost and how you're going to get the work done based on purchasing things that you need or travel, supporting travel or whatever it is you need. References are important, and we look at them a bit in the committee, particularly for timeliness. You're doing a cutting-edge study and all your references are from 1964 or earlier. We're not going to say, oh, this is cutting edge, because we're not going to be sure you've explored the current research on the topic. So not everything, if you're doing a historical study, many of your research findings are going to come from historical sources. You're going to have old stuff, but if you're saying I'm doing something brand new in educational technology and you're using sources from 1956, it's not a credible case. And so, again, we're not real fussy if your committee has accepted it, if this is a dissertation or thesis, but we're a little bit fussier if it's not.